All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Michael Keating. I am the pre-sales team leader here for the CloudSuite Industrial or CSI application. Also serve as the solution director, which means I'm part of the enhancement request process. And I'm just going to kind of kick things off for this month's overview here. The screen that you're looking at right now is actually part of our solution set, which you'll see as we go through the rest of the session here. This is utilizing a home page, and we just kind of want to introduce a little bit about the company and the product to get started here. So for those that might not be familiar with Infor and the size and the scope that we bring, we are the third largest ERP vendor out there with total revenues exceeding $3 billion, over 17,000 employees, and there's a heavy push going to the cloud. So we have over 9,500 customers currently running in one of our cloud applications currently today. From a CloudSuite Industrial, formerly known as Sightline application, the CSI application has been around for over 30 years. We have over 2,500 manufacturing companies that are deploying the CloudSuite Industrial, again, formerly known as Sightline application, and that's what we'll be focusing on today. Now, as we take a look at the Infor CloudSuite application, it really is purpose-built for industry, and this is kind of a sampling of the different industries that the CloudSuite Industrial or CSI application focuses on. So we are a discrete manufacturing application with very deep expertise and capabilities in the manufacturing environment. In terms of a cloud suite, it is deployed on a multi-tenant cloud environment. And again, we're going to get into additional details on this, but we are deployed on Amazon Web Services or AWS, which provides the world-class infrastructure for hosting and gives the availability and the elasticity for the application to be readily available. And really what we try to do with the cloud suites is we want to provide a heavy focus on your user and customer satisfaction. So we certainly want to be able to enable you to be successful by using the application while enabling your innovation through the use of technology through the application. Now, in terms of some of the customers that Infor as a company has, this is just a sampling that you see on the top ribbon up above. And then down on the bottom half of this screen is just sampling of some of the CloudSuite Industrial or CSI customers. Again, customers that are running in different types of industries. Some might be make to order, make to stop, assemble to order, configure to order. Some might operate in a just-in-time environment. CloudSuite Industrial / Sightline operates in all of those manufacturing modes. Now, in terms of the focus on industrial manufacturing, and you're going to see this as the theme for today's presentation, what we try to do with CloudSuite Industrial is provide the tools and the information so that the entire organization is synchronized. So everything from the upfront sales and marketing through your operations, including engineering, planning, production, purchasing, through inventory, quality control, logistics, aftermarket service capabilities, complete warehousing, as well as some of the supporting functions on the right, including the fully integrated financials, human resources, multi-site management. The synchronization through CSI is a common thread and a common theme that you're going to see both today as well as throughout the entire application. Now, in terms of a cloud suite, what is a cloud suite? So if we take a look at this diagram, starting from the bottom of it and working our way up, the Amazon Web Services or AWS provides that foundation, that infrastructure for running and deploying the applications in a secure, I should say, multi-tenant cloud configuration. On top of that, then we provide the Infor operating services or Infor OS that provides the user experience, some additional capabilities with regards to data, workflows, and alerts. Again, we'll see that in today's session. And then you have the CloudSuite Industrial application, again, formerly known as Sightline, that provides the core ERP capabilities. And then on the right-hand side, there are some optional extensions to that, such as a rules-based product configurator, or CPQ as we refer to it, MES applications to capture information on the shop floor, barcode data collection capabilities from a warehousing standpoint through what we refer to as factory track. So those are optional logical extensions to the core capabilities that CloudSuite Industrial provides. The application can then be extended out through the use of digital transformation, whether we're talking about mobile access for your employees or providing portal access for your customers and/or vendors. And then sitting on top of that, again, part of the Infor strategy is to provide the collaboration and the analytic tools. So burst business intelligence for analytics and reporting and so forth, pulling information out of a data lake, which could have information from the CloudSuite Industrial application, as well as potentially even other applications as well too. And your ability to leverage AI and machine learning capabilities as well too. Again, with the purpose being to try to automate and improve your internal processes. So just to kind of summarize the strengths of CSI, again, the focus on the industry, the technology platform to provide the innovation, that digital disruption that can give you a competitive edge against your competitors, the collaboration tools, again, whether it's mobile or portal access to pull all that information into a single solution set, which really provides a faster time to value, the ability to leverage implementation accelerators and leverage some best practice flows from the over 2,500 customers that have implemented the application to provide a starting point for your process flows as well too. And as the previous diagram represented, it is a complete suite of applications. And again, the Infor operating service or OS provides that modern user experience, which also kind of portrays itself towards the new generation of workers as well too. So that's just an introduction on the company and the product and a little bit on what we'll see today. So today's presenters, we have 4 solution consultants for the CSI application, Kevin Job, Tyler Springer, Albert Kim, and Jesse Overly, that are going to take you through an overview of the application. It's going to provide an overview of the system, not limited to just navigation, home pages, configuration, service, and business intelligence, but you'll get a sense certainly for the look and feel and the capabilities of the system. As Sean had mentioned earlier, today's session is being recorded. Questions, feel free to submit questions throughout the Q&A function that will appear on the right. It should be on the right-hand side, depending on what browser and hardware you're using today. But feel free to submit any questions through the Q&A, and we will respond to those anonymous questions as well too. All of the phone lines, therefore, are muted. And please, if you have any additional questions after today's session, we encourage you to reach out to your CSI sales representative. So with that, we will stop the introduction and get into the presentation and enjoy the show.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for that great introduction, Michael. Can you see my screen?
Yep, you're good to go.
Oh, we can, Kevin, yes.
All right, perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're located. And thank you for being with us today. My name is Keva. I'm going to begin with the look and feel of our solution, right? This is our latest cloud solution, running on cloud, and you can see running this on a browser. This is a Chrome browser, on a secure browser, right? And at the very top left, I have my eye. This will serve as my home page, so I'll be clicking this a lot as I go through this document, right? And then towards the left and towards the right hand side, I have my digital assistant Coleman. I can literally ask what is the credit limit or where is the office located, and I'll get a response right away. If I have any emails, coming or alerts, notifications, I have a quick envelope here that will take me to all of my inbox stuff. And at the very middle, I have a business process. Basically, this is what we'll be going through today, right? I'll begin with the look and feel of the solution, and my colleague will go through the rest, like project engineering, supply chain management, and finance and aftermarket services. So this picture widget could be a web image, right? It could be, you can actually bring in your company website right in here and browse on this screen in real time, not having to open a different screen at all. Or you can even put a family picture here. Just picture this like when you open your computer at work in the morning, you can choose what you want to see, right? So these home pages are role-based, right? As a customer service manager, you will literally have a different home page than somebody at the at the controller or inventory manager. And I'm going to go through some of that quickly. And these home pages are very easy to create, right? So these actually help us organize our day-to-day. And you can do the same thing as you wish. So if you have forms that you always open throughout the day or use frequently, you can actually bring those forms here and create a link directly to them. And it gives you ability to access them much quicker. So I'm going to go through a couple of the home pages. Here we have a customer service home page. I love this because as a customer service manager, when I come to the office in the morning, I want to know how am I doing in sales, compared to last year, right? So I want to see how many customer orders are actually late, right? I should be able to look up an item. If a customer call me and say, Keba, do you have an item FA 10,000? I should be able to look at it quickly without having to go to the items form. And then towards the bottom, I have a quick orders entry form, right? So from this screen, I can literally enter a brand new customer order right from here. Or let's say a customer said, whatever reason, oh, I forget to order that one item. Can you add it to my order? I can actually log into a customer, particular customer that called, and I can go ahead and add a new line, to their order and save it, right? This will be available in the system right away. You can see I was able to do all of these on one screen, right? Without having to go to any other pages to open them. Just to show you how quickly it is to create this, all you have to do is just hit edit. It's just as quick as a click of a button. Imagine it looks similar. It has a responsive design, just similar to your apps on your iPhone, right? You can arrange this anyhow you want. You can see as I arrange this, they move dynamically, right? If I want to delete anything, all I have to do is X out. And if I want to add any widgets, all you have to do, click add and pick the ones that you needed, right? The reason I'm able to do this today because I have a permission. So maybe within your company, you only give a permission to maybe an administrator, or maybe the head of the IT will be doing this for all your employees instead of having your employees go in individually create their own page. So everything here I'm doing is based on the rules and permissions, right? If you don't give a permission to somebody, they won't be able to do all of this here. So which is part of the security of the solution itself. So I'm not going to save this. I'll just go out of it quickly. So the next thing we're going to look at is how comprehensive the solution itself is. So within CloudSuite Industrial, we have a fully built-in customer relationship management. I mean, in some other ERPs, you probably will buy this separate and add it to the core of the solution. But here we have it fully built, robust. From campaigns, you can actually create campaigns. If you don't have any of that, you can start with the list. So you can start at any point you want. You don't have to. You don't have to start at lead to get to customer order. So if I just have an estimate from a customer today, I can literally copy that estimate to an actual customer order if that's what is needed, right? So let's just take a look at the opportunities form here. So I'm just going to filter out and pull up all my opportunities. And you can see I have two different views here. If I want a grid view, it will show me all the customers in a grid form. But if I want a more detailed information, customer specific, in this case, I'm tied up to customer number one. I have so many different tabs here that give me more detail about these customers, this particular estimate. And you can see the salesperson contact is populated here is automatically because I'm the one that actually created this opportunity. And you can see if the status is won or lost. In this case, we actually won this, right? And if you want to see an estimate tied to this, we have what we call linked form. And you're going to see this throughout the presentation today. Almost every single form, if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see a quick shortcuts to what you probably might need next. So the data is just right next to you. You don't have to go looking for it. So if I want to get the estimate for this particular, all I have to do is just click that estimate. And the good thing is we have notes capabilities here too. So if I want to attach a note here, all I have to do, click this and type in a note related to that particular opportunity. And everybody that has access to the system is going to be able to see this, right? Instead of sending each other an email about a specific customer or a specific opportunity, you can actually leave a note. You can even attach files and documents right in here. You can mark it as internal if you just want this to remain between a department, if it's reusable or if it's just for the system. You have all that capability. And this is pretty much available on almost all our forms within the system, right? So node future capabilities are very, very useful. The next thing we want to look at is our product configuration, because today our customers don't just want generic items, right? They want to be made in specific ways and forms, right? So In this case, we have what we call configure price and code. The customers will have the ability, or you can do this internally. In this case today, I will actually be doing this internally, but you can open up this to customers and let them create their own orders. So I'm going to filter just for the items that I created today. And you can see I have a couple of them in here. So there is a DC 114. This is actually the order by Price Brothers Department. So if I actually want to configure this particular item, all I have to do is hit configure here under the line tab. And what the system is actually going to do, I think I picked a wrong one, sorry. What the system is actually going to do is going to go out there and open price configuration for me to actually pick what customers want. And in this case, this is supposed to be a forklift. I'm going to create a new one. Looks like
actually, Keba, with that third row, you can actually say no because it looks like there was something already in process. So you can hit configure and then just answer no to the question, and then you can configure it. And then we'll say yes here to override it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, yeah, you're right.
I think there was another one in process for the same order. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we have our forklift. I have the option to choose how many pounds of forklift I want. So technically, this is a customer telling me what they want in real time, right? I'm on the phone with them. They said they want 7,000 pounds. And as I can see, the system already knows the combination of selections that go with the 7,000 pounds. Here, which fuel type I want to use, I'll just pick a diesel. And then after I pick that, it's going to ask me for the battery, right? So you can set up these rules just as I did here. And then in this case, I'll just pick the last one. So now, with that, the price at the very top is increasing as I go, right? Once I had this Z pattern here, and you can see the system was calculating, this was 48 grand, now is up to $49,235 in real time, right? So as I mentioned before, we offer customer portals whereby you can actually have customers do this themselves, right? If you want to hide price, you can hide the prices, but you have the ability for customers to do this instead of doing it internally, right? So if I hit finish on that particular order, it will be updated in real time. And I'm going to show you some customer portals today. Yes, forklift is going to be created. I'm going to show you some sample of those customer portals today. The next thing I want to actually show is the controls we built in the system. So these are workflows, is basically a business process controls, like discounts, right? You don't want employees to give more than certain amount of discount. In this case, I have a salespeople that are giving employees 90% off. I don't want that to happen anymore. So I don't want surprises. That gives you the capability within the workflow to actually build approval process, decision trees, and escalation. And it's just how simple. When I open this, you're going to see how that workflow look like. This is a credit approval process, right? So this is just a simple one, but this can be complicated as you want it to be. So let's say a go-to-market for new products approval process. Maybe it involves 50 people, different escalation and decision rules you can build into this. We also have the event system that are just a simple notification, right? So in this case, if I want a new customer addition as a customer service manager, if I want to be notified of a new customer addition, I have them right here. So we got new customers, probably this is yesterday, 3 days ago, we got a brand new customer. So I'll be really, really happy to get this notification because I want to pick up a phone and thank this new customer for trusting us with their business, right? And I have some approval process here, which is a discount. So in this case, somebody is actually giving a discount to somebody. Let's say I'm on a flight going to LA. I don't have much time because remember, they're giving a customer a discount of 90%. Right? I want to actually investigate this. So if I'm on the go, I can't get to this quickly. I can actually assign it to my coworker. In this case, that will be Tyler. I'll just go, Tyler, go ahead and take care of this. So Tyler will get a notification in real time and probably will call the salesperson. Why do you give a 90% to a customer? If it's legit, obviously you can go ahead and approve it. If you want to reject it, you can actually reject it here. And you also have an option. In this case, the old discount is shown here as 10%. Let's say you decide to give this customer 20%. You can actually do that within this screen right here without having the salesperson to go back to that customer order and give a discount. And this will reflect in the system as well. So workflows are widely available. You can go as deep as you want or as light as you want, right? These are just simple examples that I want to show. And you have a view of the workflow, how it looks like. This particular one is tied to Sid, which is a co-worker. He actually set this up. And either Tyler and I can go ahead and approve it, or he can approve it himself. So workflows are very useful, and there will be no surprises. I was actually talking to one of my colleagues in my previous life job. We have customers, employees actually marking stuff down 90%. You basically giving it for free. And we normally don't catch them until 30, 40 days later when we are doing some auditing. But imagine if I had these tools, I wouldn't lose a cent, you know, so which is great. I'm gonna go back to the home pages, and we're gonna look at the last thing we're gonna look at is the sales customer portal that I was mentioning before. So I have it already up on here. So this is a prepackaged website without any programming. It's SharePoint based, so you get this on day one. So let's say you decide to buy CloudSuite Industrial today, you get this portal if you want it from day one, right? So we offer there are many different portals we offer. We have a customer portal, which we're looking at currently. We have vendor portal, we have reseller portal, and we have even employee self-service portal. If you want more information about our portals, you can get in touch with your sales rep, and they will give you a better idea of how they go. But here I'm tied up to, I'm a customer in this case, and you can see I can access my account. As a customer, I can actually add users to my account if I wanted to. Add in users, I have all the company information, billing information, even the payment information, I have it. And you can see, since this particular site integrated fully with Sightline itself, all this information, credit card, credit limit, you know, available credit, if it's on credit hold, all this data is coming from the ERP system itself. So there is a direct link between this particular portal and your ERP system. And here I have a customer that ordered 5,000 pieces of each, costing $18,000. So if I place the order as a customer, I don't have to put in my credit card, because remember, the data is coming from Sightline. I'm going to pay it on my account, right? Payment method on account, which is that's what the credit limit is for. And I can pick which shipping method that I want to use. If I hit continue on here, I will actually, customer order will be generated in real time, and it should be available in Sightline in real time. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this particular order here. And then you can see I have my customer order DC413. So what I want to show you, how do you turn off? You have multiple ways of giving customers what they want in this particular portal. So if you want them to have access to all of your items that are available online, you can do that. But you can also do it a customer specific, right? You can actually create a catalog and say this particular customer, Michael Company, is actually only going to see the product that they purchase, not everything. So you have so many different options. And let's say this particular shoe is sold out, right? It's out of stock. You can actually go back into CSI and open items form. I'm going to show you that quickly before I pass it on to Tyler. So I'm going to open that quick, Control O. I'm just going to refresh the system quick. So I'm going to open an items form just to show you how easy it is to pass item to that portal, right? All you have is just a click of a button. So if I open an items form, I'm going to put the filter all the way out so we can see. If I come to the general tab here, you can see there is a checkbox here that says portal pricing enabled, right? So active for customer portal. So if I actually click this, when we go back to that portal, this item will show up. Let's say this item is out of stock. All I have to do is just uncheck it, and this item will automatically come out of our portal web page, right? So it's very easy to set up, and it's fully integrated with Sideline. You have full control over what customers see. If you want to hide the prices, you can hide the prices. If you want to have a special pricing for them, you can do that as well. Yeah, so it's a highly comprehensive system, easy to use and navigate, and at the same time beautiful to look at. I'll pass on to Tyler to cover the product and engineering part of the discussion today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Keba. Everybody can see my screen, hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Yep, all set.
Yeah, so kind of continuing on from where Keba left off, as you can see, we're kind of following along the business value chain, and he kind of showed you the overall system navigation and kind of how it's set up. So we're going to now move into how product engineering is going to handle kind of manufacturing your items, keeping track of them, and go through some other key things like inventory control and projects. So kind of start this off, going to overview manufacturing. So really, as previously mentioned by Mike, CloudSuite Industrial's roots are truly in discrete manufacturing, right? So we have the ability to truly model out all of your items with BOMs, or bill of manufacturers, or bill of materials, which we refer to them as bill of manufacturers, right? So they're going to include your current operations or routings, and then any materials that go along with it. So as you can see, we have the finished good coming up top. We've got any purchased materials or any sub-assembly items that are applicable to the finished good, and then any raw purchased or any raw material or purchased material along with a potential sub-assembly item again that might have additional material attached to that. So either way, you design out your bill of materials. We provide the flexibility to ensure whatever is going on at the shop floor level can be replicated in the system CloudSuite Industrial. Also, you see on the right side, we have various types of orders that can be issued out to the production floor, whether that might be job orders, maybe at a higher level of production, or it's something that's more repetitive. You can set up production schedule items. And then last but not least, you can issue JIT or Kanban, especially critical if you have leftover material that maybe is not part of a customer order that you want to put in stock, and you want to have record of that and capture that inventory. So after we've modeled out your finished goods by the bill of material or bill of manufacturer, we then go into how it's kind of broken down by item. So this is very similar to the item master that Keba just recently showed to enable pricing for the portals. And as you see, this is where you really keep track of everything inventory, whether it's stocked, non-stocked, or even phantom items that you don't want to keep track of and keep on your books, right? So at the parent level, we've got the finished good or the item, really the master header. And then down below, as I mentioned, we've got any current operations that are attached to that with materials necessary to complete those operations. And then we even support alternative materials in case your primary material maybe is out of stock or not available, or maybe you have a cheaper alternative material you can find for a better price than the primary material. They'll kind of give you different flexibility to still fulfill the orders and make the finished good, whether you're using an alternative or the primary material. You also have the ability to set up batching rules as well, which we have as batch required here in this kind of step. And last but not least, this all is going to tie to your bill of manufacturing, as I mentioned. So kind of continuing on, in order to produce these items, you're going to need resources. And the way we break those down in CloudSuite Industrial is we attach resources to resource groups. And then please do note that resource can be a part of multiple resource groups as well. So maybe you have someone like an employee in our system, David Daniels. Maybe David can be part of a labor resource group, and he can also be part of a tooling group, or he can be part of a labor resource group and then also a painting group, because maybe he does both assembly and then he also can paint on the side as well. So you want to incorporate your resources as they're necessary in producing those or kind of go along with those operations that are going to help you make that finished good, as we previously mentioned. So at the resource model, you see again the parent item at the top. Now we keep track of capacity and any restraints, part of your resources, being able to keep track of uptime and downtime. We also have your resource utilization to really map out, kind of what resources are being potentially overused and those that may be underused. We have a scheduling board and even a what if analysis, kind of a sandbox that isn't going to impact any of your demand or anything actually happening with your production, but just gives you a chance to kind of play with the data and see, if you were to change some things around, what might happen. Maybe you could get something done a little bit quicker and so forth, right? Next, we have the bill of manufacturing tab. So this is kind of putting it all together, as I mentioned, with the resources. So you've got your manufacturing orders, any items, customer orders and the customer order lines are going to include those items, the operations and the resources necessary to complete those operations. And then going again back to your capacity and constraints, we allow you to even put on scheduling shifts. So maybe a machine works 24 hours a day, and then labor, you've got first, second, and third shift. And then additionally, we have holiday support. So maybe you have, someone going off on paid time off for a 2-week vacation, and they can't be used as part of a resource. Also, you can support federally recognized holidays like Christmas and really put that in as downtime for your company, right? The next thing that we're going to look at is the planning and scheduling flow. So obviously all of this is feeding into your planning and scheduling engine. You've got your supply and demand, your customer orders are coming in. You have to make sure you've got the material and the capacity to support that. So we go through what we call APS, Advanced Planning and Scheduling, which is going to look at all the resources you have available, all demand currently in the system, whether it's estimate or actually planned or ordered customer orders. Then we have the Material Planner Workbench, where you're able to kind of pick up the raw materials or anything you need to make the finished goods. You're scheduling job orders and posting those job orders, really capturing the cost at a labor and machine time. So being able to capture, all the machine time being utilized to produce those goods, and also capturing labor as part of the work centers. And then last but not least, shipping out to your customer. All in all, the main goal is to make sure your customer gets what they want as promised and in good quality, right? So now enough with the process flows and kind of the diagrams to kind of show you how CSI maps these things out. Let's actually dive into the more transactional side of CSI now, as I return back to my homepage. And now we're going to look at the actual item master again, but go in a little bit more detail, right? So I'm going to go ahead and unfilter. This is going to show you all of the items within my item master and everything within our business, right? It doesn't matter about site or anything like that. Could be everything within the business. Currently, I'm working out of the Dallas site, so it's going to show me specific to that site. And then, as we look at a particular item, let's pick a good one here. I'll go with APS item, or is it AP 100, finished APS item. And really just want to focus on a couple fields here. Obviously you can see there's many. We don't have time to run through them all, but we support, your required fields, unit of measure. We do conversions. This is going to be in each. We have everything from feet, gallon, grams per square meter, millibar, etc. What type of item this is? Is it a material? Is it a tool, fixture, or other? Is it manufactured? Is it purchased or transferred? Mind you, these fields can be entirely personalized as well. So if something like material fixture is not applicable to you as a business, we can replace that with your business language, right? And finally, ABC codes. Now to the right here as well, we support costing. A really key thing about CSI, which is nice to note, is you're not restricted to a particular costing method and costing type throughout the entire organization. It can be down to the item level and even down to the item warehouse level. So for more of your configurable items, you may want them to be actual specific costed. So that way you're getting down to the cent of how much those items are. As I mentioned, they're configurable, so they're going to be a little different each time more than likely. Whereas more of your repetitive goods that you're producing on a higher volume, you can maybe make those more standardized, right? So from here, I just want to talk about a couple more tabs on the items form, and then we'll dive in a little bit more deeper into engineering and kind of how the engineering board comes into play as well. So here we'll look at planning. Again, we have support of planner codes. This is an APS finished item, advanced planning and scheduling item. So it's a finished good. We put it in as APS planner code. You can use that for whatever you see fit, maybe for a particular customer you want to put that in, or if you're the actual planner, you can put your initials, whatever that is applicable to you. We've also got batching attributes if you're setting up your batching, and then some lead times as well. So we've got any paperwork, fixed lead times, dock to stock. being able to really keep track, keep everything in as real time as possible. In our additional planning, we've also got order minimum and multiples and maximum support. So making sure to keep track of all that, and also safety stock coming into play as well if you choose to use that as a business and have things on safety stock levels. So as far as controls go, you have the ability to lot track and also serial track items. You can also pre-assign lots and pre-assign serial numbers as well. So pre-assigned serial numbers may be for a batch of items that are being prepared to be manufactured, and also serial tracking for anything from quality issues to even just getting back to where that item was manufactured in case there was any issues or whatever it may be. So from here, I'd like to go into some of the forms you see to the right that are linked to these particular items. So as this item, we're currently on AP 100 finished good. I'll just mention, I should have previously mentioned this. We're looking at the grid mode, as Keba kind of showed. We can look at this two ways. We can enhance it just to this particular kind of specified information to that item, AP 100. I can get out of that shortcut and just go strictly to grid mode. Very similar look and feel to Excel, if you will. And this kind of allows us to quickly stroll through all of our items, change things on the fly if we need to. Maybe we need to update the drawing number, the buyer, etc. And we can kind of rearrange these columns as we see fit. So a lot of our forms in CSI look like this. They're very easy to get familiar with. But now kind of continuing on, we'll take a look into the engineering board for this particular item. Let me just go back to AP 110 or AP 100, apologies, and now dive into the engineering board. So what this is going to do is this going to allow us, a little bit more visual representation of this item. We've got the finished item up top, and then you see in dark blue, we've got the operations, and then the materials in light blue associated with the particular operations. Over to the right, you can see there's one subassembly. So these are any associated subassembly items that then feed back into the parent item. And then, as I mentioned, this is just a great visual step where you can display how an item's manufactured and broken down by operation, material necessary to complete that operation, and how many operations it has in total. You can see this has two that leads up to the AP 100 finished APS item. So that's just an example of kind of how you can see it from a visual representation. A little bit more in detail, we can go to the engineering workbench. And this is where someone, if you're in the engineering side and you really want to get down to each operation, each material, and be able to kind of switch and replace, we can work with a set of different bills of material here as well: current, standard, job, or estimate. We support several different BOMs depending on the scenario. This is the current BOM for AP 100. So if we wanted to change any of the operations and add any on the fly, we can go ahead and do that here. Simple add. I'm not going to do that for this item because it's already fully built out in our demo environment. And then as we go through the operations, we can see the materials necessary to complete. So for operation 10, we've got capacitor, we've got a resistor, packaging, and sub-assembly APS item, right? And then for assembly, we've got the materials necessary for that as well. But by operation, it looks like all of our materials are appended to operation 10, and then operation 20 is just your simple assembly to finish everything. So now returning back to the item master, we're going to look a little bit more into ECNs and revision tracking as well. So, as you're kind of going through things and things are being changed, you obviously want to keep track, and you also want to make sure the right personnel are making these changes, and it's also distributed to the right personnel so they are made aware of the changes being made. So you can see from the main tab under miscellaneous, we've got our revision tracking checkbox and ECN. And then this is where we're going to basically see if ECN is checked. There will be a formal engineering change notice issued out when the item goes under any changes whatsoever, which we'll take a further look into just in a second, kind of go into the ECN's form and show you how to kind of initiate that process and even make it, put an effective date attached to it. But before we go into that, I want to just briefly look at document management, or IDM. I'm just going to go up here to our application switcher and go into document management. Mind you, this is all done by our single sign-on capabilities because of Infor Operating Services, our platform at which the CSI sits on top of. So I didn't have to type in an extra username or password. I'm right into my data repository of everything that I want to keep track of. And for this particular example, we're going to look into this purchase order ABC002, right? So we can see it was created by me, the create date, last modified date as well. So keeping a full audit trail of all your documents. I can see, anything about this purchase order when I go in a little bit more detail. I have the ability to check it out, download it, save it as a new document, print, and so forth. I can even add it to my favorites. Now we go into a little bit more detail. We can see here on the properties, here are the attributes as well, the metadata being extracted from this. So we've got the description as purchase order ABC002, which it is on the header. We've got the metadata here again, the purchase order, we got the vendor number, and then what I want to draw your attention to is the drawing number, 1234. The reason why this is important is this is actually stitched to another document, a CAD document, in which it's related to, the actual drawing that this purchase order is associated with, right? So if we go into, I just want to see a way to view it a little bit better, or a little bit, there we go. So if we double click it, we can view the purchase order, right? ABC002 for our vendor, and here's us, the ship to Progressive Industries Dallas. And when we go into download, I'm going to show you kind of how we can have the ability to stitch the document to the CAD drawing. Before I do that, actually, before I forget, we want to cover the last couple tabs here. We also have file. This is where it came in, I downloaded it from my computer as a PDF, the size of it, and then security privileges. Didn't want to go further before mentioning this because security is obviously important with everything. So security allows you different levels to a specific document, and you can really specify users to either edit, view, and even delete certain documents. So again, full audit trail. Obviously, you can't keep your eyes on everything on your business, every second. So we help you do that with these, system features and enhancements to help you kind of keep track of all security privileges. So now kind of continuing on, when we download this document, again, purchase order ABC002, we'll download it as a PDF. And now you see it gives me an option. I can stitch related documents to it. So we're going to go ahead and do that, click that checkbox. And now you see my CAD example comes up with this purchase order because that's the document that's related to it. So as we go into CAD example, we'll go ahead and stitch these documents together and download as a PDF. So now we can distribute this as we see fit, potentially a vendor that we want to send this out to with the drawing to kind of give them an idea of what we're looking for. And now you see that purchase order we were previously looking at, along with the CAD drawing example of what we want it to look like, right? This is just an example we got, quickly to kind of show the ability to stitch those documents. You can stitch as many documents as you want together, really keeping things related and a full, seamless trail of things where you don't have documents in your inbox, you don't have documents on different folders of your computer. It can all be kept in one data repository and really linked to aspects of the system or even departments of the system that you're looking for. So that gives us that ability to distribute that out and also, fully basically interact with our documents and our full data repository. So if we go back into my documents, just to kind of look at our recently modified, I'll also show you that CAD drawing and just give you an example of how that's tied by the drawing number. As we look at our properties, here's the CAD example we saw that we downloaded, and in our attributes, it's drawing number 1234. So that's what keeps these two together. Is the two drawing numbers, and it just allows us to keep those two documents together. So that's pretty much it for document management. Again, return here to my home page. And now we'll return back to ECNs, as I mentioned. So we'll go back into engineering and ECNs revision. Again, so as we previously mentioned, we do have a formalized ECN process, which can be implemented within your manufacturing engineering process. So as you see here, I created one and built one out as an example. The originator is myself. You can type that in. Request date is 9/23, and then an effective date you can put as well. Actually, you should put this at the end of the month. Apologies about that. It goes along with everything else within my items, right? So you can think of this as the header of the ECNs, and then we're going to basically associate ECN items to what need to be changed as part of this header. So before we go into the actual items, we see just a couple other pieces of information. We've got the priority level within the next production run. Maybe we need it to go within the next 24 hours as soon as possible. What's the reason? It's a manufacturing engineering request. Maybe it's a sales request, governmental regulation, whatever that might be, depending on the line of business you're in and who your customers are. And then last but not least, who's it being distributed to? All manufacturing employees? Is it managers? Is it the accounting department? Maybe it's all employees. So now after we've got the header kind of complete and just some basic information about these ECN documents or ECN items, let's go into the specific ECN items associated with this change notice. So what we're actually doing here as part of ECN 10 in the sequence is we're going to be deleting a current material. So we have our item FA 10,000, which is our finished item. It's a bicycle model 30. It's make to order. And we can see it as part of the work center, the final assembly area as part of operation 10. We're using the material currently LB 34,000, the tool assembler wheel. We actually want to delete this, as you see is the action. And the effective date is 9/30. That's why I changed the effective date on my header as well to kind of go in suit with this. So at the end of the month, we want to delete this item being or this material being used for this operation. And we're not going to just delete it and leave it hanging without anything there because they probably wouldn't be able to complete the operation. We're then going to add a different material. Very similar, as you notice, this one's LB 34,000. We're just going to replace it with LB 44,000, which is a tool wrench socket. Same effective date, September 30th, the end of the month. And that's where we're going to be able to kind of just add that new material in. Maybe one material became more expensive or it broke too often. It wasn't being suitable for the production of this finished good, right? And then, you know, last but not least, we can see that we also have material use up report. This is really helpful for phasing out a particular item. So really use the report to determine the remaining amount and really project when it will be out of stock, right? So if you're making an item obsolete, or you know, whatever you see fit to use, that material use up report can come in handy depending on what you're using it for, your material. So that takes care of ECNs and revision tracking as well, keeping that full audit trail and also keeping you know, certain users, only giving them the ability to make those changes. To kind of wrap up here, we'll go into inventory control. So kind of going along with the same theme of your item master, whether you're doing, you know, physical item counts, or a physical inventory counts rather, cycle counts, or even transferring materials from one warehouse to the next. You want to fully be able to keep track of all those items so that are attached to your item master. We can see some KPIs here on this dashboard. You know, more at the group level, this is the inventory dashboard. We have several of these different dashboards as well. I think one of my colleagues will be introducing you to the financial dashboard or controller dashboard, which is more suitable to those within the finance and accounting department. This would be more for those in the inventory procurement department, being able to keep track of the top 5 highest items, any cycle count adjustments, type 5 product code values, etc. So we have different KPIs ready right out of the box. These can be changed and personalized for you as a business as well. We've got any alerts inbox and tasks that need to be complete. And then really the ability to navigate through the system is here as well. So you know how we were looking at the item master. That's right here in our setup. We can look at items. That's the item master. We can do unit of measure codes and conversions right here as we support those different units of measure. Inventory visibility, you know, where is items at? Where are they at by warehouse? We have activities. We can do a miscellaneous receipt. Maybe we got items shipped in that we were waiting for, or maybe all of a sudden they appeared. That would be nice without paying for something. We've got quantity adjustments, and then last but not least, your reporting analysis, item detail report, even through your material transaction report. So the thing that we want to focus on here is we're going to look at the navigation or the navigator tab, right? So on the navigator tab, we can see some additional reports really neatly laid out to extract business insights in a quick and accurate manner. So on the hot list, we've got different stock items and their time phase inventory and projected on-hand quantities. So we can see our hot list, you know, keep track of items that are maybe, you know, our top selling items or whatever that may be. We've also got our inventory value report, which of course, you know, very important. This one's grouped by product code. So we can see, you know, all of our inventory values and by product code that we previously associate with those items. And then, as mentioned earlier, in terms of these KPIs and dashboards, you know, these are broken out by role. So this is just one of the many examples we wanted to highlight for today's demo pertinent to inventory. Okay. So last but not least, I'd like to cover the projects overview. You know, mind you, not every business is going to use projects within their organization, but for those who do have for those who, you know, do use projects, we do have a fully robust project management solution within CSI. You know, a lot of customers we've seen or come across that work with government agencies or do a lot of government contracting, GovCon. This can be very particular to your business in terms of the project workbench. Similar to other forms that we've seen, even like the item master, we start with your header. So this is going to be the project header. What is the project? Any tasks necessary to complete the project, and then resources that are going to be associated with each task necessary to complete that task, and then roll up finally to the completion of the project, right? Again, kind of going back to the dashboard concept, we have a project manager dashboard called the project manager home as well to keep track of all these projects, keep track of the cost, the profit, the percent completion, etc. So really, the ability to keep track of everything project. And we also have project integration. So as everything within our ERP, the projects module is fully integrated with CSI. So any estimates, items, job orders, or purchase orders are going to be, right in line with your GL posted transactions, to be in line with your payroll processing as well for any jobs necessary to complete the projects. And the planning summary is fully incorporated too. So keeping track of your scheduling demands, your capacity, and then finally any AP posted transactions that go with your purchase orders for journal entries. So they're going to hit the books. And then last but not least, we have your work breakdown structure. So this is really where you get into, breaking down each work breakdown structure by task and resource necessary to complete it. So really getting down to the nitty-gritty granular level of cost detail and efficiency, where you can see how things are being done and capture cost and profit for a particular task and full on roll up into the project. So just as a quick, I'll just go back to project integration, just as a quick proof of concept, we'll just give you a quick example of kind of how this looks in the system. I'll unfilter for an example I have down here. And what I actually have as a project is we did constructing a new bicycle system, right, or store rather. So everything that's associated with this, any tasks, any resources, and then we fully support billing on invoice and also revenue milestones, so you can keep track of those. Work breakdown structures are here, any accumulated costs, and then all your project transactions that have occurred that are in line with your system, kind of keeping track of everything. So we got the customer it's attached to, whether it's active or closed, an end date, any invoicing that's taken place, percent complete. And then just to wrap it up, the project transactions, as I said, so anything that's related to this project, whether it's an inventory, a purchase order, a job, we're keeping track of it here. You can rearrange these columns and kind of get an idea of everything that's taken place over this project's life cycle. And last thing to mention is Projects is fully integrated with Microsoft Projects as well, along with Microsoft Outlook and Excel. So if you're using Microsoft Projects today, we can fully integrate that within CloudSuite Industrial. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to my colleague for supply chain management and production, and that's for my section.
Okay, great. Actually switch over to the other screen. All right, thanks, Tyler. So we'll continue with supply chain management and production. So moving along on this value chain, these are some of the concepts that we'll be covering today. Let's actually just go hop into CloudSuite Industrial and take a look at this image right here, which basically kind of shows the planning overview where we of course have our demand inputs and supply inputs, right? So demand, whether that's your customer orders, job orders, forecasts, and so forth. We also have our supply side where we have our purchase orders and so forth. Well, all that information, of course, then ties into our planning engine. So whether you have your due dates, your order mins, maximums, lead times, and so forth, that then ties together and spits out to the material planner workbench, which ultimately shows you which orders, purchase orders that you need to release, which job orders that you need to release, and so forth. And beyond that, that you can start issuing these purchase orders, job orders, and so forth, and also view additional information to take a look at, where are you falling short in terms of item shortages, take a look at your planning summary, and so forth. So in terms of your planning engine, we do have several different options. Mainly, it's either MRP or Advanced Planning and Scheduling. APS, of course, takes into consideration your resources alongside with your material constraints as well. So whether that's your labor, your machine, tooling, and so forth, APS will take those additional constraints into consideration. So if I go back here, again, we're focusing on this planning engine. We're focusing on taking these inputs and spitting out the results. Speaking of results, we can take a look at the demand summary page, where here we're looking at a list of all our demands. So whether that's your job orders, your customer orders, forecasts, and so forth. After you run the planning engine, you basically have an output that shows, whether or not a specific customer order has all its supplies, all its parts. So this has a ready status that's checked off. Keep in mind also, we have, due dates that we assign to these customer orders. Once APS, a planning engine, takes into consideration the different materials and constraints on hand, right, we have a projected due date. And if we wanted to see a bit more detail, we can click into the demand detail and see, what the planning engine is recommending. In this case, it's recommending us to use inventory to fulfill that specific demand. If I go down below to an order that has a ready status that's empty and select into demand detail, we'll see, in red, issues that are causing this specific customer order to be running late and so forth. So here it looks like we have some operations that are causing us to be late, or some missing parts and so forth. So CSI offers, alongside APS, tons of visuals to help you understand why certain things are running late and so forth. Moving on, I mentioned the material planner workbench. So if we go back into this concept page, right, we have our planning engine, whether it's APS or MRP. It takes into consideration all your inputs, right? Then based on, your due dates, it's going to recommend you to either release certain purchase orders or release certain job orders. And that can be viewed on the material planner workbench. So here, right, I'm filtering for purchase requisitions. So we have on the purchasing side, you can start out with either a purchase requisition or, start out with just a purchase order from the get-go. But in any case, these are the purchase requisitions that APS is recommending that I release. So here we see, the due dates that we should be receiving these specific items for. Now keep in mind, purchase requisitions, purchase orders, these are just for any items that you purchase, whether it's to add to your manufactured item, or whether it's maybe a part that you're going to end up selling to your customer. Either way, you can have that process start from this material planner workbench. Keep in mind also, we see on the job filter all the recommended jobs that we should be releasing to the shop floor as well. Now, if I look to the right, we see additional links that ultimately link to this material planner workbench or the specific line item. I can, for instance, see time-phased inventory, look at the planning detail, see, just general material transactions, component shortages, right? So on this specific job order, if I wanted to see if there were any component shortages, I just go ahead and select that, and it'll filter for that job and then show down below essentially the different items that we're running short on and so forth. So it's a great tool to kind of help your planners, your buyers and so forth to make sure, items that you want to ship out can be shipped out on time. Moving along, if I now sit into the vendors form, right, this is the vendor master that controls all your vendors. We see on the right-hand side that we can start issuing out purchase orders. We could record vendor interactions, right? Keep in mind, Outlook ties into this vendor form. So if you wanted to push certain emails to the vendor interaction side, you can. Vendor contracts allow you to set vendor-specific pricing. Furthermore, if you had quantity breaks that you wanted to record, you can store that in here. There's some pretty cool tabs that I want to show you in terms of vendor performance. If I go into the on-time delivery side, we see here essentially a breakdown of all your purchase orders being shipped on time and in full. So based on those two measurements, we can see here down below the average on-time delivery percentage, which in this case is 77%. Real quick, I'll hop into a purchase order just to show you how you can purchase a specific item. So here we're working on that specific purchase order, PBS1. If I go into the lines, we'll see, what exactly we're ordering and so forth. So these items, again, keep in mind, this could be for an item that you add to an assembly, or it could be an item that you can end up shipping directly to your customer. Now, another thing I want to mention is you don't necessarily have to use the planning engine to release purchase orders. If I wanted to, I can just create a new purchase order right here and just start sending those out to my customers as well. So you do have that choice. Moving on, in terms of quality, we do have a complete quality management, quality control module within CSI. Here, just a brief overview. On the left-hand side, it's basically stating that quality can be tracked at all stages of your supply chain, whether it's receiving purchase orders, out on the shop floor, or right before you ship it out to your customers. You can implement different QC measures at each step of the way. And in terms of certain things you can do, right, you can set up QC inspection frequency rates. So whether you want to inspect every purchase order or maybe every 1,000th item that you receive, you can specify that. You can create inspection and disposition reports, set up material review boards, set up corrective action reports, and so forth. There's a lot of things you can do with this. If I look at the items overview here, we see, you essentially create QC items, right? Set up the inspection frequency rates. You also can set up QC gauges. So if you have calipers that you want to keep track of, right? Keep track of their calibration history and whatnot, you can tie that into this QC module. You can also tie them to QC item tests. So if you had like a visual inspection, or if you wanted to measure the width or whatnot, you can, set up these item tests specific to the item that's in question. So let's actually take a look at an example real quick. Oops, I'll go back into here. We'll take a look at, for instance, let's see, not that, material review. Just 1 second, please. So we'll go into the QC items and we'll take a look at the QC item itself. From here, we can specify which items we want to keep track of and so forth. We can take a look at the test maintenance. And here we'll see, which type of test we want to run and so forth. We can click into the material review report, corrective action reports, and so forth. Moving on, I do want to touch on, job orders. So in some places we see this called as your work orders and so forth. If you do, have a engineer to order type of environment where you do want to create or modify job routes on the fly, you can just, click into the operation or materials tab, and that essentially links into the bill of materials for that specific job order. So at this point, we have, it looks like 3 operations identified. If I wanted to create an additional one, I could just press the plus button. If I wanted to make any changes, I could do so here. Now, in terms of costing, we have tons of costing tied into this job order. We see here that it's broken down by cost, material, labor, overhead, outside costs, and so forth. This is also filtered down to the operation level. We can see additional costs as well. Now, how are these costs captured? You can do it in the backend side, or if you wanted to, you can use the kiosk app that we have called Factory Track, and from here, your shop floor employees can clock in, clock out, issue material and so forth, and if needed, they can come in here to clock in, clock into jobs and clock out of jobs as well. Now, in terms of payroll, we do have payroll fully tied into CSI as well. So if you did want to run it from our software, that is possible. What we're looking at right here is the employee self-service portal, where they can come in here to not only view their paycheck summaries, they can also come here to do vacation requests. So if they wanted to take some time off, they can input that information right here. And that, of course, will tie into their manager, who can then either approve or reject it. Now, going back to just shop floor visibility, Let's take a look at this utilization graph where we are focusing on the resource group FA-400, which in this case is a labor group. And down below, we're just specifying, or we're essentially taking a look at what the load capacity or the utilization is for the next 5 weeks. And we see based on the different days and colors, we can break it down by forecasted demand, planned demand, and scheduled demand. So here and down below, we see more specific details in terms of percentages, where we see our on-shift total hours, our scheduled hours, right? So in this case, the utilization is around 20%. And as we go down further, we see that it's increasing all the way up to 75. If we want to see a bit more detail, of course, we can just select the resource group plan, and we can take a look at all the jobs that are essentially scheduled to that resource. Additionally, I do want to show you also this Gantt chart right here, where you can see all your resources on the left, a time view up on top, and all the different jobs that are scheduled here. So just think of this as your shop floor schedule. We do also have some filters where we can, filter for late jobs. In this case, we have a lot of late jobs, and this is just a great way to see a visual of what's going on your shop floor. So we covered a lot in the supply chain management and production portion. There's also a lot that I didn't cover, so definitely feel free to reach out where we can get into a bit more detail. In any case, I now want to pass this over to my colleague Jesse, and he'll finish us off with finance and aftermarket services. All right.
Okay, everybody see my screen and can hear me?
Yep, you're good to go.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes, thank you, thank you. All right, so I was trying to move something over on my other screen, but so what I'm going to finish off with is our last column here. We're going to talk a little bit about customer orders because we had a question that I'm going to quickly answer, and we're going to go right into order shipping at that point with pick, pack, ship. Briefly talk about plant and service maintenance. We could spend a whole hour on that, but we're just going to kind of give you a quick flavor of what that tastes like and see it. Then we got your financial dashboards. We're going to kind of go into some finance a little bit, go into some reporting, and show you a little bit of our burst as well. So let's just jump into the system and get started. So, excuse me. So what we have is the first question that we actually had somewhere on our chat was on customer orders. How can, maybe I don't produce 100% of everything. Maybe I actually buy and sell something. And what do I want to do? How do I do that? And does it need to go through a BOM? Do I need to manufacture? How do I sell it? So in this case, I got a customer order. Here it is, 1413. I'm going to drive right into the lines. I don't have any items at this moment. I'm going to pick an item that is a purchased part, right? So in my items masters that my colleagues went over earlier, we actually have product codes and everything else, which not only play a part into our GL, but it actually plays a part into of how we treat that part. And so in this case, I got a pump A. I don't manufacture pumps. I'm not that guy, and I don't want to do that either. So pump A is here, 3,500. This is something, if I look at the source, I got quantity ordered 1. If I look at the source, it's pulling from inventory. So I could make to stock, right, as a company. So yes, I'm a manufacturing company, and maybe I do make these pumps, and I can throw 100 on the shelf. So I can pull from inventory even though I manufacture those pumps. But if I do a purchase order, and I buy these pumps somewhere, and I want to drive the purchase order, maybe somebody's ordering 500 and I only have 100 on the shelf, I could actually source this from a purchase order and not drive it that way. I can also, if I manufacture, I can source it to a job directly and say, I just want to produce a work order and I want to produce all 500 of these things. So I don't have to go down one avenue or the other. I can actually have multiple ways of getting my items into my customer order and linking that up. But if I were just going to purchase something that's off my shelf, here's where I'm going to do it. I'm driving right from the inventory. I can see what my stock on hand is, and I can just place the order. And then at this point, we're going to ship this item, and then we're going to invoice it, which kind of segues anyway into what I wanted to show you. But I hope that answers the question of where does a purchased item get sold and how does it get sold through customer orders. So now we go into the pick workbench itself. So let's I got order to invoice over here, and we're going to gently go over this form. There's a lot of stuff on this overview form, but here we are on the estimates, quick orders, and you can kind of see my lines going down. I got my order entry. Now I have to pick, pack, and ship it, if you want to say, and then down here lower, I got to invoice it, right? So that's my general process of doing order to invoice. So the first thing that we do is we've already done the custom order, just like I've shown you. We've done it. We've got a pump, and I got to do that. Is we have a pick workbench. So we have a lot of workbenches inside of CSI, and pick workbench is one of them. If I wanted to take products and I have a whole pallet I have to fill up to complete this order, I'm going to use my pick side of the workbench and say, okay, what do I need to work on? Well, here's a bunch of items that I need to pick to be able to get to the packing side, to get to the shipping side, to get to the invoice side. So I have a pick workbench to be able to manage that. So if I'm the picker, I'm going to use my pick workbench and drive what I need to do for the day with that workbench. The next thing I'm going to do is I got a pack workbench. How am I going to pack this up? What needs to be packed? Is it ready to go? Maybe it's the same guy who does pick, pack, and ship, right? It happens. It depends on the size of our business, but we also have the ability to separate these out into individual users. So I have a pack workbench. And then I get to the order shipping side, and basically this is going to, let's see if that's the right one, let's see, order shipping DC 347. Let's do that. Some of these I don't have ready to be able to do yet, but in this case on 347 or 307 will work. I could select all of these. I can select certain lines and items that I want to release, and I can actually generate my shipping from there. So this is sort of like a workbench as well, but it's going to be individual to each order because it has multiple lines. So that's how we kind of handle some of the shipping. And then we have the order invoicing side. In this case, I would probably run my to be invoiced report. I would have that in hand or up on the screen, and then I'm going to pull that up and do I want to invoice the whole order? Maybe all lines are complete, or do I want to do certain lines themselves? Maybe I'm going to do 2 shipments because I can't fit all of them on one order, or maybe some of it isn't ready, but I want to go ahead and ship those out. So I usually, in most cases, the companies that I've seen are doing, I'm going to invoice on shipment, not on, not just at the end of the whole thing's complete, right? So I want anything that leaves my yard, I want to be able to invoice that piece of it. And so you're going to use this form on the order invoicing to be able to do that. And that's kind of how we, on the general process of how we kind of get from our orders all the way down to our invoicing side. From a very high overview. Again, we can go over more details on a demo of how that actually works and with your data, but we wanted to kind of show you a little bit about that. The next thing that we want to show you is our plant maintenance and service. And so we'll kind of pull up our overview form for that. And so this is kind of breaking down how our service side of the house works, but we also use that internally as well as externally. And what I mean by that is if I'm an HVAC manufacturer and I also have a service arm that would go out there and look at my warranty, I can use the service module inside of CSI to drive my incidences, my call center, warranty work, and all of that. But inside the company, I might have my CNC routers and all of my welders and everything else, machines and robot arms. They can be set up as a unit inside of CSI as well and be able to generate my work orders for my maintenance crew to go out there and work on that. And then they can track all of the work, and we have a mobile app that you can actually use. I'm not going to pull it up for the sake of time, but we'll be happy to show that you can demo the mobile app's pretty cool, but they could do it directly from their phone. So let's look at what the unit side, but let me back up a little bit. I jumped ahead, but the unit side of the house. So I have the maintenance, And then I have, I can tie that to a customer, again, internally or externally. I can actually set up a contract to do maintenance on that. Again, that would be externally. I wouldn't set up a contract internally. I can see the configuration, again, track the warranty. I can also set up schedules for preventative maintenance. So that's going to drive automatic work orders to be created and says, look, you haven't touched the CNC machine and done any maintenance on the belts and hoses and all of those types of things. So somebody's going to go out there and check on that. Maybe you need OSHA inspections on that as well, right? So everybody in the warehouse has to be OSHA mindful, so you can drive your OSHA inspections from your schedules as well. Call center tracking, that's going to be driven from, you're not going to use that internally typically, you're going to use that externally. Somebody calls into customer service, says, hey, I bought this unit and I need somebody to look at it, it's broken. And of course, you're going to create an incident, you're going to send somebody out to look at it, or they could mail it in. Something like that, or drop it off. And then you got a service order that would be created for somebody to actually go out there and look at it. What did they do? Did they have to replace any parts? How much labor, expenses, and all of that are tracked? So that's from a high level, that's the service management stuff. We'll look at quickly the units form, and let me query a unit just to kind of show you what that looks like. Again, we could spend a whole hour on this, so we don't want to do that right now in this call, but we'll be happy to show you this in more detail. This is what our units form looks like. And inside the units, you can actually see we have some an actual item that we sold and who it was sold to. What's the status on it? Maybe it's, again, out of service, in service. If it were in the house, I would put out of service on it if I were going to do something to it. But in this case, I sold it to a customer. What's my meter dates? What's the last time I've worked on this? Calibrations, inspections, you can set those up. You can look over here on my maintenance tab. What kind of maintenance have I done on this item that I've sold? If this were in-house, this should have about, a dozen different maintenance tasks to be there. I can look at my service history that I've worked on this machine. I can look at any incidences that were created on this machine. And then lastly, on the quick overview, is I can look at what parts are inside of this machine. I can look at my warranty. So at the high level, level 1, I can look at this whole machine is warranty for 1 year, but underneath it, I could have separate warranties for each part, right? So maybe I have a motor that I put on that machine that's good for 5 years, and my maintenance guys are out there, they can look at it and go, oh, I got a warranty on here and it's still under warranty, so let's send it back to the vendor and get a new one, and you're not costing us. So you got a way to track all of your machines in your warehouse or track all of your machines that you've sold for your customers. Again, high level overview of service. Again, we can go over for an hour and get all the details if you need to in another demo, but that should give you a taste of what that looks like. So then we jump down to our favorite subject, which is financials. Financials on an overview form. We look at it and we have different ways on finances. We have inventory, order entry, purchasing, shop floor. Again, you got accounts receivable, accounts payable, and then it's going to drive down to your general ledger, whether it's payables. We do track fixed assets, so you can actually enter those in there, list all of your stuff, and track those. And then, of course, projects and human resources. So that's kind of on the financial side of things, where we're going with that. We have our chart of accounts. I'm going to skip over to chart of accounts just to kind of give you what level deep we can go with chart of accounts. In this case, we have a unit code 1 that's attached to this account 1000, which is cash. If I scroll down further, I can see now I have a unit code 3, so I can go multiple units level deep and report on my finances, however which way you want. So you can turn all of these on or off based on each account and how far deep you want to track your general ledger and your chart of accounts. So if we look at our controller side of the house in the sense of, okay, I'm a controller and I want to see all of my numbers based on my company, we have a home page for that. And so this is kind of where they're going to drive from. And of course, they can get to all their hyperlinks from their home, their journals, chart of accounts, accounting periods, all of the fun stuff they love to do, the trial balance and reporting. But if we scroll across here, I can look at my critical numbers as one of them. And this, we have a lot of home pages. That I think, I can't remember if my colleague went over the home pages or not, but we have a lot of them based on each role in the company. And this is one of them that I'm just showing you. But on the controller, I can look at my critical numbers. Maybe I don't like my current inventory turns here. I don't like the looks of it, nor do I like my data. I'm going to change my display. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to drive down here. And I think 61 is one I like. I want total sales. I don't like my angular gauge. I like cylinders, right? So I just click OK. Now I've changed on the fly. That was pretty easy. End users can do this given the right permissions. But now I've changed what critical numbers is important to me from the controller. I want to see what my sales are, my inventory balance, and all those. So again, they can change those really quickly on the fly. We kind of go on data views. This ties back to reporting, ties back to what kind of data do I want. We like to call this ad hoc reporting. I have different tabs here. Again, multiple home pages. So this is the controller side. I also have an AR side and a buyer side and all of those on home pages, but we're going to kind of look at this one. Here I'm on the data views, controller, general ledger. Again, I have AP, AR, banks, but we're going to kind of look at this. Now I have a bunch of columns and a bunch of data. What do I want to do with it? Well, I want to drag this over here, so it's going to add you some flexibility. I want to see this by accounts. Okay, now it's dropped like Excel. I can manage this data. Okay, look, I got it by Excel or got it by columns and accounts, but I want to sum it up. Well, then come down here at the bottom, I look at my sum and I say, now I want to see totals here. And I can save this data view. Maybe I love this data view that I just created. I can save this for me. I don't have to create this every single time. I can actually save it. And every time I come here, I would have one of this as an option or want to create a new one. Now, what if I want to export it? I can export it to Excel straight from here. So then I can work on that. So again, ad hoc reporting, data views, adds you a lot of flexibility there. The last things I kind of want to show you on my finance side of the house, we have an Excel add-in tool that controllers seem to like a lot, and it adds in an M4 CloudSuite up here. This add-in tool is also available for Outlook. It's available for project management. So you can use those as well, but this one is the Excel one. In this case, all I've really done here is I've came into my report wizard and I've said, you know, I just want to see my profit and loss statement. And what it's done is it's generated, it's connected to my CSI system, whether I'm in the cloud or whether I'm on premise, it connects to it, pulls the data back, and allows me to see it right here in Excel. I can manage it from here. I can drill down from here. I can also do budgets and work with the data. I can even add other stuff. Maybe I want more formulas and everything else. So you can also create those inside of your workbench and be able to manage it from there. So we have that from a reporting side for the controller. Seem to like that really well. And then we also offer one other option. And that option is Burst. And we like to call it CSI Analytics. So here I've already pulled up one of them at the moment for the sake of time. But what we deliver from the CSI side is we deliver some pre-built content that you can use. And we actually have scheduled for some more releasing of more content. So right now we have finance and sales, but they're releasing more, I think inventory or something like that coming up, I think in October, November, but they're building out and delivering more with each passing month. But for now we have finance and sales. In this case, I have income statement, but I also have all of these other options that I can look at my stuff. So the Burst utility itself, you can actually drill down into it. Maybe I want to see sales, and this is going to refresh and it's going to pull back just that stuff. These are my filters up here. And of course I can drill down from my filters here as well. I can add more filters and drill down. This is kind of taking a little bit longer than normal because I'm on this WebEx, but in my internet. But now I can drill down and see here's everything that was in that sales side of the house. Again, I could change all of these and and look at other cash flows, balance sheets, trial balances. But this is our burst tool. Again, you don't have to build these yourself. You could. You could also link to other applications and pull that data in using burst. Or you could build your own, but we do deliver some right out of the box so you can use it without having to customize or personalize any of those. All right, so for the sake of time, I know that was a little bit of fast, but I was trying to meet our deadline, but I'm going to hand it back to Sean or Mike.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, that was a great run through. We covered a lot of information today, and I know that's a lot to take in a 90-minute session or 75-minute session. But again, we want to emphasize that if you guys have any, detailed questions, or you want to see, a more formalized demo, whether that's, another 90-minute overview, or we could even sit down and do an 8-hour session with you and really kind of dig into the weeds and show, a day in the life with your data in our software. So I think, Mike, I'll hand it over to you, and maybe we could, highlight some questions that came through in the Q&A before we end today's session.
Absolutely. Yeah. First off, there were a lot of great questions that were submitted through the Q&A. I believe we've replied to all of them. There were a few, because those were anonymous submissions and replies, but there were a few that we wanted to review with everyone. So one very first question that came across was wanted to confirm what version of the software we were showing today. So this was a CloudSuite Industrial CSI version 10. We were running in a multi-tenant cloud environment, and we all happen to be using Chrome browsers, but we support all of the the current HTML5 browsers. Someone had a question about some of the flowchart forms that we had. So those were forms that were introduced in version 9. So if you're on version 9 and higher, you can actually do a search on there's two different types of forms. One that's called concepts, and one that is called overview. So you can do a keyword search on any one of those types of forms. Those are standard forms within the application starting in version 9, and they give you that graphical kind of a flowchart process, and they are interactive, so you can click on any of the buttons that have a green square indicator on it and open up the form that supports that step in the process. So in starting, I should say, with version 9 and higher, forms that have the word concept or overview will give you those flows. A couple people asked about the engineering change notices that Tyler had introduced and wanted to know if that was standard functionality. It is, and it is part of core CloudSuite Industrial / Sightline and has been there for quite some time as well too. So if you don't have access to those forms, it might just be a security clearance that you might need within your organization. And then the last question, also a question on standard functionality, was on the projects piece as well too. The work breakdown structures that I think also Tyler had also introduced as well too. So the work breakdown structure, or WS capabilities, are also standard capabilities as well too. And again, as Tyler had indicated, it's a great tool to pull information from multiple projects or specific tasks from different projects together. Provides that great reporting of visibility at a higher level than what you might have within the project. So. Sean, I'm not seeing any new questions, so those were some that I just wanted to repeat to the group that I thought might be pertinent to everyone.
No, that sounds good. I wanted to highlight another question that came through to me, which was on unit codes on the financial side. So when you guys are setting up your chart of accounts within CSI, rather than extrapolating or expanding your chart of accounts exponentially, right, without expanding it by 20 or 30,000 accounts, we give you the option to not only add in chart of account and general ledger dimensionality to pull in, different criteria into your posted transactions. We also give you the ability to set up what are called unit codes, and those are unique to CSI. So basically, it's a way to append things like product codes or department level analysis into your account rather than adding, tons of additional accounts. So again, a great way for you guys to report from a financial perspective on your business. So that's all the questions that I saw. Mike, thanks for highlighting those. Again, we want to emphasize that we really appreciate your time. We know that things have gone a little haywire, obviously with the COVID situation, and everybody is really buckling down, getting towards the end of the month. So we really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to your respective Infor sales rep, and we will answer any questions that you might have or set up any follow-up specialized demos for you. So again, thank you for attending today's session, and we appreciate you stopping by.